It's the next morning after putting my Stark Varg together last night. Before I ride today, I'm setting up the rear sag. Now I still have not had the ownership transferred over from Lithium Power Sports. Both Stark and Lithium have admitted that that needs to be done before I can use the app on the phone and actually be able to see what the state of charge is, speed, and power setting. Most are reporting that the default power settings is 40 horsepower, and that's exactly what I wanted to start at, so I'm okay with riding it that way. It's a little bit scary not knowing what the state of charge is, though. I'm going to charge it for like 3 hours at 120, assuming it was shipped like at 50% state of charge or higher, and that should be enough to top it off. The static sag should be 40 millimeters, so I just tape a tape measure here to the bottom center of the axle. It's right at 2 inches when fully extended. On the kickstand you can get the rear tire fully extended, and when I stand it up, put all the weight on the bike. Gotta remember the kickstand goes up so I don't just throw the bike on the ground afterwards. It compresses 1 5/8 inch, so that's exactly 41 millimeters. That's pretty much what the static sag should be. But now I'm going to put on comparable gear weight as to what I ride with. I just throw on a heavy leather jacket. I'm going to check what the sag is with me on it and make adjustments accordingly. I really have to modify that kickstand so it doesn't shoot up automatically.
Please hold while we connect your call to extension 0.
Getting a call from Lithium Power Sports.
Lithium Power Sports.
Hi, I just missed a call back from you. I had just called a while ago about transferring ownership on the Stark Varg I just received last night.
They already got everything squared away earlier.
Okay, I'll hook up the phone again and make sure that I see the bike now. If not, I'll let you guys know. But thanks.
Sounds good.
We'll see in a bit if it's true. Now that I'm on the bike, I'll typically record a short video clip. See how far down the sag is. Try to take all my weight off of the floor. Make sure my weight is all on the bike. With a video, you can kind of see what the max excursion is. Six minus 2, 4 inches times 25.4. Yeah, so the sag is about 101.6, 102 millimeters. That's reasonable. It's maybe a little bit less than I'd like, but I also think that with full gear and a full camelback, I'm going to be weighing a little bit more than what I'm weighing now. I'm going to start with the sag there and see how the bike feels before I tweak it. I did order it for my weight without gear, and I've got the damping set to really soft, pretty much open the clickers all the way. It still feels much stiffer, especially in the back, than my WR250F Enduro bike. But I'll start here. It's pretty close to what the sag should be, and I'm going to leave it alone. Now the rear suspension has 3 adjusters at the top, high and low speed compression and low speed rebound, but the high speed rebound adjuster is actually on the bottom, and I hadn't seen that one initially, and the rear suspension still felt very stiff. Yeah, this adjuster here at the bottom is a high speed rebound. After backing that one out, the rear now feels much softer, much closer to my Enduro bike. I may tighten all the clickers in a little bit after the suspension breaks in somewhat, get it closer to the stock configuration, see how that feels. But for now, I'm going to run it pretty soft. This suspension has a broad range of adjustment. You can make it as soft as an Enduro bike, it feels like, and obviously very stiff like a full-on motocross bike. Measure the sag by myself. I'll tape a tape measure to the center axle in the back, and then make a loop with tape on the fender to run the tape measure through. Now let me pop the phone back in and see if Lithium Power Sports did transfer the ownership properly. Turn the bike on. Start the app. Here I'll type in my email and password on my Stark account and see if the bike shows up. And there we go. Yep, the bike shows up now. That's my VIN number there. So Lithium Power Sports did transfer the ownership correctly. Now it's asking to do an update. I'm going to go ahead and update it. When you see the LED flashing, alternating through different colors, you know it's doing an update. Based on what I've read, it's important to not interrupt it during an update. Let it complete. In preparation for charging, I'm going to go ahead and put the bike up on this other stand I have. So it's easier to get the bike up off the ground and stable. I don't trust the kickstand until I do some modifications on it. I'll just leave the charging stand that Stark shipped with the bike separate on the floor next to the bike. The LEDs stop flashing. I think that means the update is complete. So I'm going to grab the charge stand, get some more charge into the battery. There's only 19%. I'm surprised it was shipped at such a low state of charge. I would have expected something closer 40 to 60% state of charge for shipping. pull out the cable that goes to the wall with the 120 adapter that Lithium Power Sports shipped. Make sure it's plugged in tight. Yeah, they got these nice over molded plugs now that should prevent some of the problems that the Gen 1 chargers were seeing with poor connections. It's a pretty high current, high powered load for 120 volts, so it's better to make sure you just plug it in by itself on one circuit. And it's also recommended that you plug in the bike first. You gotta press a button on the bottom of the plug to take out the cap. Now you can plug it in with the release lever on the bottom. You'll hear it click when you put it in right. So that's how you know it's Gen 2. The charge port is further down and forward on the bike. So yeah, because this is kind of a high powered device, don't have a bunch of other things plugged in on the same plugs or circuit breaker. So now you can hit open monitor on the top here of the app, and you can see what the current is on the top, and on the bottom you can see what state of charge you want the bike to charge up to. It's set at 100% right now, and it has started to charge. Now I'm going to turn the current down just to make sure I don't trip a breaker. Now how long would it take to charge? So if I limit it to 12 amps at 120 volts, I'm going to be charging at 1440 watts. It's kind of like a powerful hairdryer level. So to charge the 80% that's left, 6,500 watt hour battery. So 80% is 5,200 divided by about 1,500 watts. So it would take about 3.5 hours to charge 80% up to 100%. Based on the settings I have it at now. Now let's go home in the app here and let's look at the power modes. Let's see what the stock modes are set at. First mode is at 44 with 80% regen. Mode 2 is at 48 horsepower. Mode 3 at 52 horsepower. Mode 4 at 56 horsepower. And mode 5 is at 60 horsepower. Those last few modes are higher than what I want to set it at. So let's start with mode 1. Oh, you can scroll up and see them here as well. Mode 1 I'm going to bring down to 39 horsepower, which is what my WR250F horsepower rating is at sea level. Here I'm at about 4,000 feet of elevation, so it's going to be less than that. Mode 2, I'm going to start at 45 horsepower for mode 2. This slider is a little bit sensitive. It's not too easy to stop exactly where you want to stop. Mode 3, just under 50 horsepower. I'll start at 49. Mode 4, let's go to about 54 horsepower on that one. Yeah, mode 5, I've got no interest to run it much higher than that at this point, so I'll just leave it the same. And I'll leave it there for high efficiency at this point. It looks like it has an AI assistant. Don't have any questions at this point though. You can order spare parts and accessories right from the app as well. Stark does give you access to all the parts for the bike pretty much. Looks like it tracks your rides, records your rides, distance, and the map itself. Go back to the monitor. Yeah, we're up to like 26%. So the bike is charging okay. So before riding, another thing I want to do is get some stand sealant in both the front and rear tires. I'm going to add 8 ounces of stand sealant to the rear tire and 6 ounces to the front. Bought this syringe kit. That'll make it a lot easier to add the right amount of sealant. I'll have a link for the syringe kit and the sealant I used in the description. It comes with a nice metal valve removal tool. I was going to use the plastic ones I had, but this is a really nice metal one. Looks like a syringe for a horse vaccine, maybe elephant. Comes with a couple of different size attachments. It's for Schrader and press the valves, I guess. So we'll start by removing the valves so we can get the sealant in there. So I can't seem to get the valve out, and then this is where I just realized that the entire metal part of the valve is rotating inside the rubber stem. That's not a very good design. So I'll have to use some pliers to hold on to the threaded portion of the valve. And maybe now I can loosen the core. That's pretty tight. I'm gonna have to use a wrench on the core removal tool as well. Try this again, holding on to the metal part so I don't damage the rubber. And there, I think I was finally able to loosen it with a wrench there. Should come out now. There we go. Keep it in a safe, clean place. Now let's open the stand sealant. We're gonna get 8 ounces into the back tube. That's important to shake it. There's some small sealing particles in the liquid. Dip the syringe. We're going to do 8 ounces in the back tire. The syringe is not big enough to do it all in one go. You'll have to do multiple fills of the syringe. Just look at the numbers on the side and make sure you get 8 ounces in there. You'll repeat the exact same process on the front tube, but adding only 6 ounces since the front tube is significantly smaller than the rear one. Now before putting the valve in, I like to make sure I wipe the inside of the valve core with some clean paper towel so there's no sealant particles or sealant that could prevent the valve core from seating properly. That should do it. Get the valve core back in there. Use the nice metal tool, better than the plastic ones that come like on slime sealant bottles. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to use the pliers again because I can get the metal core to spin by hand. I'm gonna start pumping the tires up somewhere between 10 and 12 psi to start with. Moving on to the front tire, same thing. We're gonna remove the valve core, but we're only going to add 6 ounces of sealant. I'll take it up to about 9 psi. And let's measure it with the accurate pressure gauge, see where we're at. Yeah, just over 10 psi. You can spin the tire a little bit if you want to spread the sealant a little bit, but once you roll on the bike, it should spread, seal any pinholes or punctures caused by thorns, nails, etc. Now if you look at the owner's manual, there's a table that shows the torque spec for all the major bolts. So I'm just going to go through and check some of the key bolts, the front fork clamps. I haven't found any bolts that came loose from the factory, but I'm just going to give some important bolts a once over before getting out on the trails. And a lot of the bolts on the Stark actually have the torque spec printed right next to the bolt, so it makes it easier to know what torque spec you should be using for the different bolts. It's so nice that Stark includes a full toolkit with the bike. Makes it a lot easier to take care of basic maintenance and repairs. With the extension, I can reach the chain guide bolts here. Yeah, they seem nice and tight. Let's check the brake caliper mounting bolts. Those are kind of important. Although with regen braking, a lot of the braking on this bike is done just with the electric motor. Want to make sure you can stop fast though. This bike can go fast, you got to make sure you know how to stop fast on it as well. And that you have good braking hardware in good condition. I'm not seeing any loose fasteners anywhere. So now the bike's ready to go. Excited to get out on the trail for the first ride. I'm excited to keep sharing my Stark Varg experience. If you like this type of content, please consider subscribing and hit that like button so you can be notified of future videos.